Hello, my dear friends, and welcome most warmly to the WordSmith Podcast. Let me begin as all good things should begin with gratitude. If you've followed my little corner of the YouTube universe for some time, or if you've simply stumbled upon this space in a moment of curiosity, thank you. And I mean truly, thank you. Your presence here means more than words, however artfully arranged, could ever quite convey. For those of you who don't know, my name is Carl, and for as long as I can remember, I've been enthralled by the art of understanding, of peering just a little deeper into the world and into the exquisite confounding machinery of the human heart. I adore music, language, and the power of ideas, not as an expert or a sage, but as a fascinated traveler, one who delights in asking, wondering, and occasionally marveling. My YouTube channel called The Wordsmith began as an experiment in curiosity, a place to respond to music, to explore lyrics, and to unearth the poetry that hides between melody and meaning. And over time, through your encouragement, from my Patreons, the generous souls on Buy Me a Coffee, and the ever-thoughtful community on YouTube, this endeavor just evolved. Some asked, quite rightly, for something deeper. Not merely reactions, but reflections, not just art, but the emotional and philosophical landscapes that inhabit it. And thus, this podcast was born. Now, let me be clear from the outset. I make no grand claims. I'm no guru, no keeper of secret truths. What I offer here is not proclamation, but conversation. A humble human space for reflection, for shared experience, for asking life's questions without pretending always to know the answers. This podcast is, in essence, a gathering of minds and hearts, sometimes tranquil, sometimes provocative, but always honest. We'll speak of mental health not as a taboo, but as a vital, breathing part of our existence. We'll talk about the arts, not merely as spectacles of beauty, but as the very vessels that carry our fears, our joys, and our yearning for connection. And music will, of course, remain our steady companion, woven now with threads of philosophy, psychology, and the eternal curiosity of the human spirit. And why? Why, you might ask, do I do this at all? Because in the simplest, sincerest sense, I wish to help. Not with sermons, not with pretense, but with empathy. Sometimes the smallest light, a phrase, a story, a shared silence, can make the dark a little less forbidding. If this podcast can offer that faint light to even one person, then it shall have done its work. Each episode will offer something considered, perhaps an analysis of a song that tenderly touches on mental well-being, or a conversation with a thinker, an artist, or a kindred soul whose perspective expands our own. At times, it may simply be me, reflecting aloud on the beautiful messiness of being human. Firstly, a space that is safe. A space where your thoughts, your doubts, your hopes, and your griefs are met not with judgment, but with gentleness. Secondly, clarity. Life's complexities, emotional or intellectual, can so often knot themselves into confusion. Together, we'll untangle those threads through conversation that is lucid, relatable, and grounded. Thirdly, inspiration. Not the brash, trumpet-blaring kind, but the soft illumination that sneaks in through a lyric, a poem, or an idea. The kind that makes you pause, breathe, and perhaps see something anew. And finally, connection. That subtle, extraordinary human current that reminds us that we are not alone. If even one listener feels less isolated and more seen or quietly empowered, then this will have been worth every syllable. I have always regarded myself as a pupil of the arts rather than a professor of them. Each conversation, each reflection is part of my own learning, a continuation of that unending, delightful apprenticeship to life. I draw upon what I've read, felt, and observed over years of singing, teaching, poetry writing, and pondering. When I touch upon subjects like philosophy or psychology, it's never to lecture, but just to share, to offer perspectives that have illuminated my own path in the hope that they might illuminate yours. Disagreement, too, is welcome here. For what is learning if not a conversation of differing minds seeking understanding? None of this, absolutely none of it, would exist without you. The marvelous community of supporters, patrons, and listeners who have given not just your attention, but your faith. I thank you deeply and profoundly for it. And I'm not oblivious to the fact that words like mental health, art, and philosophy may sound lofty or abstract, but beneath them lies the simplest truth. This podcast is about people. It's about us, about our fragile, resilient, astonishing capacity to feel and to care. So I ask only this: bring with you kindness, patience, and openness. In return, I promise thoughtfulness, respect, and a steadfast effort to make each episode something of substance and sincerity. In the days and months to come, you can expect an eclectic tapestry. From quiet monologues to lively dialogues, from intimate reflections to inspiring exchanges, and please do reach out. Comment, write, share your stories. This conversation, after all, is far richer when your voice joins the chorus. Before I close off this introduction to the podcast, allow me to remind you of one truth I hold dear. Seeking help is an act of courage, not weakness. To care for your mind and heart is not indulgence, it is necessity, it is bravery, it is love. Together, through music, through art, through the grand dance of ideas, we may yet to learn to understand one another and ourselves in the process, and that's life done a little bit better. Thank you deeply for lending me your ears, your minds, and your time. I'm honored, truly honored, to share this space with you. Take care of yourself, be gentle with yourself, and remember always, you are not alone. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, do be kind, do be gentle, do be respectful to one another, and help each other out when you can. And I'll see you lot in the next session. This is called The Wordsmith. Thank you for listening.